Welcome to The Hook, episode 26. Today we're talking about Six Nations. As an American, I want to give my own spin, and maybe it's going to be some of the same, maybe it's not. But, as I've been doing with the ARC, I'm going to bring in some stuff from my friend over at Rugby Forecast on Twitter to talk, just to look at the math and what the lines may be like. This is all based on mathematical prediction, based on outcomes, and not necessarily what Vegas says. As you know, I bring in like the gambling perspective, not really because I do it, because I don't, because I don't like losing my money. But it's more so to look at the preview, see what the data is, what the what the Sharks think. So you always want to see what the Sharks think. Well, moving on, let's just get into this week. We had a weekend off from the Six Nations, and we had a bunch of Premiership rugby this last weekend. Some of it was hard-hitting, which was great. As I'm pulling for England, you can tell right now. But currently, Ireland sits at the top of the table based on points differential, but they both have the same amount of bonus points at 9. So there's that. But again, the points differential, I think, Ireland has an advantage. It's about 15. I have to look a little bit deeper on that. What's next, right? We've got the Calcutta Cup for England. So let's just look into England and Scotland and see what's going on. There really isn't a lot of changes going on for England. So let's really talk Scotland. So they bring in 6 players into training camp to fill in for injuries. I don't know, how this will fill in, but all these guys, they've been in and around Scotland camp. We've got internationals. They're not random people. So Tim Visser, wing, Harlequin. Matt Scott, center from Gloucester. James Malcolm, hooker from Glasgow. W.P. Nell, prop from Edinburgh. Tim Swinson, lock from Glasgow. And then Josh Strauss at number 8 with the Sale Sharks. So you bring in those guys, all class players. Gregor Townsend's confidence has to be going, up based on how they played France. And, Greg Laidlaw, his boot was everything in that match. So it's a wonder, like, what does England got to do? So what England has to do really is keep the ball away from Greg Laidlaw's boot. The offense really was sort of sputtering out against the Welsh, whereas, the offense for the Scottish was working very well against France. And then, France just kept committing penalties. So what we've seen from Scotland is that they can take advantage of your mistakes. I think that, W.P. Nell's coming back in, so they're getting healthier in the pack, and, they're a little banged up in the back line, which is, it is what it is. However, it's a home game in the Calcutta Cup for Gregor Townsend and the Scottish in Murrayfield, so, it makes you wonder where they're going, but I think you can go all the way back to Edward Longshanks and see how much domination the English had on the Scots. But I think it's going to be tough, probably much tougher than most people think when it comes to this. And that's why, Eddie Jones was going to fly the English squad to Georgia to train with the Georgians for 2 weeks. Or not 2 weeks, but a couple days. However, he didn't do that. What the RFU did do is flew in the Georgian team, and the Georgian team scrummed down and trained with the English team, at their training complex. So you had, one of the best scrums and set pieces in the world going up against another one of the best scrums and set pieces in the world. So they train really hard, learn from each other so that they can, the English can be set up for this week. And if you want to see what they're going to do on offense. I want to see, really, I want to see some fireworks. I want to see some overmatch. Let Johnny May out. Faz, let's go. Like Mako and Billy Vunipola. I want to see what those guys can do. Jamie George, Dylan Hartley. I want to see how that, hooker pairing works. And it's going to be an interesting match, but I think England's going to pull away by 15, and we'll get the answers from Rugby Forecast at the end of this. Moving on to Ireland-Wales, Ireland's brought in Gary Ringrose, John Cooney, and Neil Scannell. Ringrose, he's returning from injury, so it's he's not really covering from anyone. John Cooney and Neil Scannell have been brought in because some of the guys who were in the squad earlier are injured and out. Wales brings in Talupi Faletau, Dan Bigger. They've been declared fit, and then Leigh Halfpenny with that week off, he's back to being fit, and he has been cleared for this game. So you want to see, what will the Welsh game plan be, because their 2-4-2 offense really wasn't working that well against the English, even though, because, obviously they only scored 6 points, 2 penalties. So you want to see how they push the ball out. Will they play like they played against Scotland, or will they go, ruck for ruck and, set piece for set piece in the middle against Ireland? Because Ireland, I think they are going to have scrum overmatch, to be honest. And, they're going to run a different style of offense. They're running, Schmidt's running a bit of the 1-3-2-2, and they can put up a lot of points if they desire, a bit more so than the Welsh can. The Welsh, for the most part, when I first fell in love with them, they were a great defensive team and just horrible on the offense. And you saw that they can play wide open and loose, and that they can score, but that hasn't really been their MO. And what will Alan Wynne-Jones do? Like, he makes some interesting tactical decisions on the pitch, when to kick for sticks or not, and so I'll always take the points. But for the most part, it's at the Aviva. I've got Ireland in this, and I'm going to be comfortable. Maybe 20 points. Moving on with France versus Italy. This is where it gets real interesting. Who's going to hold the wooden spoon? The French kicked off 9 players after they got held up in the airport to be witnesses to a possible crime. I guess the Scottish police declared that there was no crime after interviewing the players. But I guess, the French like to party, and things happen wherever they party at. So, Jacques Brunel has cut 9 dudes. And, you look at this list, it's Anthony Bello, Jonathan Dante, Arthur Ituria, Remy Lamara, Félix Lambi, Alexandre Lapandrie, Sekou Makalu, Louis Picamol, and Teddy Tomas. Like, what? You're taking out a bunch of playmakers on this squad, and, Italy's just out there for blood, So what are you doing? To be honest, I think with that change, I want to take Italy by 5. Italy's scrum has been a lot better. We want to see what they'll do with, their offense and their set piece. But some people think that Joe Schmidt just let them score points, but I don't think so. They were able to score points when tired against another tired opponent in the second half. And, with France taking out all that firepower, I don't think that gives them enough to get over the hump on this one, because they're down 0-2, and they're not coming in confident to this game. So let's just look at the math when it comes to everything that we've got going. So Rugby Forecast has the predictions as such, Rugby Forecast has, France beating Italy 28-13. Yeah, I don't see that. Sorry. So we're going, Italy by 5. So let's go 18-13 in favor of Italy. Ireland with a 69% chance of victory over Wales, 26-16. And then Scotland versus England. England has a 64% chance of victory, 23-16. I think that's going to be relatively accurate, but I would push, England to 26-16 on that one. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting. That's Aaron Castro for The Hook 26. Like, subscribe, comment.